following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
Do or do not, there is no try. A new Star Wars book is going to explore 40 short stories from Empire Strikes Back that none of us have ever heard before. We got snippets just hours ago. We're going to break down our favorite teases, the stories we look forward to the most.
Voodoo Squadron takes to the skies in the brand new EA Star Wars game, Star Wars Squadrons. You don't want to miss when we talk about what really makes it so much fun to play.
And in Star Wars comics, it's a return to Cloud City a lot sooner than you may expect. Marie Wilson from Beyond the Blast Doors joins us to go beyond the panel to keep you up to date with the latest and greatest in Star Wars comics. It all starts right now.
From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
There's a new Star Wars video game in town. It's called Star Wars Squadrons. We'll be talking about that and a lot more here on episode 91 of BTBD Live every Thursday. Well, most Thursdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It is David Amilati and Pete Fletcher with you here for another edition, another Star Wars live show, Star Wars Talk. It's what we like to do. And when there's a new video game, when there's a new Star Wars story, when you can just let your life be sucked into the ethos that is the internet, we'll do it with you. Pete, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing great. You just said something that really struck me, and that's especially as we were getting ready to go on, and I was chatting with some of the folks in the chat. That's why I love doing Beyond the Blast Doors Live with you and with the people who join us, because there's always, it seems like every week there's something, right? Whether it's a video game or new books, or in this case, both. You want to talk about it, and we can tweet at each other all day, but to be able to talk about it with one another, that's the stuff, and that's why I'm excited. We got some things to talk about this week, so that's always good. That's always good when we got something to say, right? So
we really do, and one of the things I like about the new way we're doing the show, obviously we have a lot to get to. You would think that it wasn't a very active week, but we got some news within the last 24 hours. We'll dive into that later in the show, but we have a crawl for High Republic, so if you do follow Star Wars books and comics, we got some of that coming up later in the show too. So we got some stuff that's planned, we got some stuff that's breaking, and of course, who knows what can happen on these live shows. We always let people join in from the live chat. But Pete, really excited to get into this. I think we'll start with Star Wars Squadrons, but before, so I think
sure.
I think that we should give some people in live chat shout outs. Who's with us this week?
Let's see. We got Framey with us. Framey, by the way, thank you so much. You are now a patron of Beyond the Blast Doors. Thank you so much. We got some really cool stuff, by the way, coming up for patrons. So if you're not a patron, please consider it. I'm not going to push you too hard, but check it out, patreon.com/Beyond the Blast Doors. We got some cool stuff. We have a welcome package, which is going to go out by the end of the month, which is I think it's going to blow you away. Anyway, we got Framey, we got Gilster, we got Mr. Rez. Mr. Rez, how you doing? Andy Lemire, we got Galanorian, we got Gilster, we got the whole gang here. This is fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to tell your friends on the social medias to come and hang out with us as well. This is going to be a fun night. This is going to be a fun night. I was going to say I wanted to sort of let you know that I'm back to drinking on the show because it's important, damn it, to be able to have a little bit of fun. So I'm drinking some Angels Envy with my friends from Beyond the Blast Doors Network and those of you in the chat hanging out with us.
Heck yeah, we're glad to be. This is going to be a very relaxing night. This is an escape for me for various reasons. Maybe it's an escape for you, just to be able to talk Star Wars over the next hour. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a wild 24 hours here at the Amilati residence, so we're just happy that everyone's happy and healthy, and we're going to rock and roll tonight. Just a big thanks again to everyone joining us, and coming up this week on the Beyond the Blast Doors Network. Yes, you're joining us now for BTBD Live, episode 91, but tomorrow, Bounty Hunting makes its second episode on the YouTube channel. This is going to be really exciting tomorrow night. Going to be a lot of fun. 5 people scouring eBay for the best, the worst, and the weirdest Star Wars finds on eBay. And it should be a lot of fun. Pete, you'll be there. You'll have Andy. You'll have Josh.
Yeah.
We'll have a Patreon member, right?
I think you're right, yeah.
Is that the plan? I think that's the plan.
That is the plan as of right now. So that'll be awesome to have. And that's, again, I was talking about Patreon benefits. That's one of them. Join us on our game show. We're looking to really make that fairly regular and have a lot of fun with it. So that'll be a great time tomorrow night.
I know it's.
And then
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and then on Saturday we got a Bombad cast, which is with Scotty and Andy from Hollow Chronicles. Again, the network kind of all working together, doing its thing and playing off each other. So that's going to be a wild ride on Saturday. Bombad cast is always. I honestly, like, I put it on my podcast, I put on the headphones, and I buckle in because I don't know what's about to happen. So it's going to be, but Scotty and Andy, that can only be insane. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I think what Scotty and Jerry provide is like just this free range world, whether it's an hour or 3 hours. It's probably the least structured Star Wars conversation you'll hear on our network, and it's sometimes just some of the best stars you'll find all across the internet. Because of their passion. And you can check that out this Saturday, like Pete mentioned. So we told you what you can find on our show in the next hour. We've told you what you can find on our network the next couple of days. Let's go ahead and dive into this first topic of the show, which is simply Star Wars Squadrons. This game drops last Friday, falls into our laps. There's a lot of excitement here at the network. We talked about it on the show. We had Shannon doing some really great articles and some cool videos previewing the release of this game. And Pete, here's the thing. You can master the art of starfighter combat. It's immersive. You can protect the galaxy. You can fly your favorite ships. If you have the ability to do VR, you can do full VR. My first question to you is this, because I sadly have not been able to play more than 5 minutes because my computer cannot withstand the magnitude of the Death Star and this game. I have to get a new graphics card. It's kind of a problem. But that
Commodore 64 cannot run Squadrons very well.
This is a beefy PC build, I will tell you that much. And I think it's BS with a side of garbage that it can't play this damn game. I bought for $40. And then I was like, man, I'm going to probably buy the joystick too because that looks cool. So that's another $70. Cool. And I'm glad I waited because right now I have a $40 game on my computer that I can't enjoy. But I say all this, you have 1 week in. Are you playing this game for the online experience or are you playing this game for the campaign?
So I'll tell you, it's funny. Games that allow multiplayer online, I usually am off. My son, who you all know, he's 8 years old. He kicks my ass at Fortnite. Like, I go and I play with him. He begs me to play, and then he laughs at me as he slaughters me all across the Fortnite universe, which is funny.
I don't blame him.
So generally, I hate multiplayer online games because I am awful at them. I am awful at Squadrons, but I will say I have never had so much fun playing a multiplayer online game because 2 reasons. Number one, sure, I'm playing the missions and everything. I'm only about 3 or 4 missions in, and I'm enjoying it because there's so much. For those, I will give away no spoilers. I've read nothing about the story. I've really done my best to avoid it, but there are little bits of lore and canon and Easter eggs and mentions that, again, we've talked about before. The Star Wars movies, when they give you just a little mention of something, it's sort of like it's a payoff for all the effort you've put into following all the comic books and the novels and everything, and that's in the game, which is cool. But when I went online and I just last night I was playing with Jerry from Bombad and Andy from Hollow Chronicles. The night before it was Andy and Josh and me all playing together and all getting our butts kicked, but it's so much fun to play. That's the secret weapon, honestly, of the Star Wars Squadrons game. The secret weapon is playing it with friends. And so I'm going to say that, and I'm also going to say, and we've all pushed it on Twitter, but I think and we have Apprentice Ewok who has joined us as a Voodoo Squadron member, and Gannon. 136 is I probably have his number wrong. I'm sorry, but Gannon has joined us. I know it's horrible. I know.
It's Patrick. It's Patrick. It's Gannon 136, right. But it's Patrick. Yeah.
Did I get the number right? I got the number.
You got it right.
Right,
don't doubt yourself, damn it, man.
Beating myself up, damn it. But we've got. So if you play, go to beyondtheblastdoors.com, and we have Voodoo Squadron as one of our navigation options. Click that and find all the BTBD hosts They all have our call sign on there. So you can look us up and you can play with us. We want to play with you. And then follow us at voodoo_squadron on Twitter, because when we go on, all of us sort of, we throw a little flag up saying, hey, we're going up and playing, come and join us. So I think that is so cool. It's just like sort of the online chat that we have during the show here, is that playing together, talking together, bringing the community together. And hey, we can all get blown out of the sky by complete strangers together. So it's a lot of fun. But honestly, that is the difference. I saw University of Coruscant, James, who was on my show a couple weeks ago, he posted on Twitter, that is the secret sauce for Star Wars Squadrons. And he's 100% right. It is playing with friends, and that experience is probably the best multiplayer online experience I've ever played. And I can't speak highly enough of it. I'm not even talking about the graphics or the controls or the interface. It's all a lot of fun, but it's a community feeling, which is really fantastic for any game, but a Star Wars game especially, to bring that community together.
I think you're right, and it's the one thing that I feel that not enough people are talking about, because I think a lot of people just assumed I'm going to play this video game with my friends, but the experience has been so great. I think that people have forgotten about the expectations. And I think that's a compliment to what EA has done. And it's kind of a theme of the conversation tonight is, has EA really redeemed itself with the use of the license with Star Wars Squadrons? Because I understand that EA is not, the full driving force behind this game, but it is allowing this game to be a reality because it owns the license. And it's been an ongoing saga, going back to that first Battlefront and the microtransactions. But you get a Battlefront 2, and you get a Jedi Fallen Order, and then you get a Star Wars Squadrons. And the variety of games here is it's really enjoyable. And
I will say this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's really interesting because they're very. I just read it again before we came on tonight, that they've sort of reiterated that there's no plans to make additional content, which is, I feel like it's a mistake, because I think right now they have a winner. They have people who love the game straight out of the box, and it would be a really missed opportunity to continue to expand it and keep people. Now it's a week into it, right? And so to be asking for more is incredibly greedy. But I think long term, I think they need to. Battlefront has just continued to put out more and more and more stuff, free stuff, and Battlefront or Squadrons would only benefit from doing more of that. But again, as of today, a week into it, I have zero complaints about the game. I honestly, other than the fact that I suck at it, which is not the game's fault, it's my fault completely. But again, a lot of times I said this in the, we did a fun little video from some of the hosts doing our first impressions, and I said, usually when I'm playing multiplayer online games and I'm getting my butt kicked, I quit. I don't want to do it. I'm a big baby. I don't want to deal with it. But in this game, I have 0 kills in 15 minutes, and I go right back into it. So it's so much fun. And I don't always have 0 kills, by the way. Sometimes I do really well.
Sometimes. I don't know. While I was waiting for this game to come out, I was playing Call of Duty. I don't know. I don't know if it was Modern Warfare or whatever the hell it was called, but I was getting really good. I was doing 15 kills, 14 deaths. I was getting good. So I'd like to get Star Wars Squadrons working on my computer so I can figure it out. I can tell you the 5 minutes that I have played, I was having a real issue with my cursor, because I thought I would use my cursor to aim and fire, but it's it allows me to, it dictates my direction, and so I'm having to use the crosshair to actually shoot at stuff, and I'm terrible. I'm gonna have to get the joystick. It's very evident.
You have to get the joystick. I made the investment. I bought the $80 Thrustmaster, which is just so fun to say.
Well, you've already told the audience that you want to play with them. So really, I mean, we can only go up from here.
I can only go so far, I suppose. But no, yeah, I firmly and wholeheartedly recommend the joystick, because I've played it both ways. I've played it with the handheld controller and the joystick, and it feels better. It does. I haven't played it VR, but I'll tell you what, as much as I would love to do it, I feel like the motion sickness would get pretty intense pretty fast. So
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. So I excited about it. Love it. And again, the missions are so much fun to play too. But what I find is I start playing the missions a little bit, and then I see one of my friends has popped on, and I'm like, all right, I'll go do some dog fights, and then I go do that, and I lose my way. But,
well, I don't think you lose your way, but I think that's something that really interests me with all of this. We've gone through the fact that we've gone through how you're enjoying the online play. We've talked about the fan experience and playing with friends, which is maybe the thing that isn't talked about enough because it was just assumed, but it does really work really well. I like, from a story structure, how they have created 2 stories you can really dive into with the New Republic, right? The New Republic perspective and then the Imperial perspective.
Yeah, and
I
go
think,
from one to the other.
yeah, and I think what it does is it shows you a really natural progression for a sequel, which I think they should throw back to the prequel. I would love to see Republic versus Confederacy. I think that'd be really fun, like the Separatists. You could throw it in the future. You can definitely do a First Order and Resistance with this, just because the game mechanics will stay similar. I would imagine. I mean, that's an assumption, but I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. You and 4 or 5 other friends go at each other, against 4 or 5 other opponents. I think it translates really well. I think if you see a lot of people investing the money, buying this game, we'll see how it does in sales. But if it's such a response, and also enough dollars are spent with the VR immersion and buying all the extra, joysticks and whatnot, if EA and all parties see that fans really do enjoy this experience, you can't tell me that they're not going to do a sequel. If there's an opportunity to make more money, they're going to do it. Just how I still full-heartedly believe there's going to be a Battlefront 3. There's plenty of story, plenty of new things to add to make that happen. It's the same reason why I think there's going to be a Jedi Fallen 2. So I'm with you. I definitely think that there's room for a sequel. I firmly believe that it will happen, but it's going to come down to how many people really do invest in this game. And I'm hoping, as we've already addressed, that this experience has really given fuel to the idea that EA has redeemed itself with high-quality storytelling, great online play, going back to the campaign, a longer story. What was the complaint about Battlefront 2? The story was too short. We got Jedi Fallen Order. Now we get this fun
and this
back
campaign
and
is
forth.
pretty short. I mean, all things considered, it's a shorter campaign, but sorry, I'm pouring myself a drink.
No,
I'm roaring here. I'm
that's
ready
funny.
to go.
No, I put you on camera intentionally. I think what makes this great is, yes, it is shorter, Pete, but because you're able to bounce back between both sides, you know what? It's something different to play with that narrative in that way. I think it's really fun, and a story that I think really does enhance the overall Star Wars story. It's not like you play the campaign and you feel like it doesn't contribute to anything.
100%. I'll tell you what I would like to see is I think they can learn from the Fortnite model, right? So I think people look. I look at my 8-year-old son, and if I told you how many times a week he asks for me to buy some $9 skin for Fortnite, it's insane. So I would love to see them follow that model. Give us more options, because a real nitpick is there's not a lot of options when you get started for the way you can design your character and your ship and things like that. And yes, you do have to work for it, which is great. But even if you work for it, I see a finite end to it. But give us a Fortnite type of thing where you have seasons and chapters, and you have look, I would spend money on V-Bucks to be able to get certain colorations for my ship or certain characters, or and I think if they do that, they can keep this thing going for a very, very long time and continue to make money on it. I mean, the Fortnite model is brilliant, and it's been working for quite a while.
I'm really excited to be able to play the game and have a lot of fun with it. I love what you were saying. I want to know what you think, though, watching or listening to the show. What's your take on Star Wars Squadrons? Have you been able to play yet? Have you played? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure you comment there. Also, if you're watching on the Rewind or you're listening, be sure you can tweet us at BTBD Star Wars and let us know what you think. The live chat is alive on this Thursday night. You have Apprentice Ewok in there, Pete, saying Fallen Order 2 or a similar game and Battlefront 3 will be a thing after next gen gets its footing. Yeah, I get that. I think that when you get the new version of Xbox and the PS5, EA has to come out swinging with that. And the Star Wars audience, I think, has shown that it's committed to spending money if you have a good product. So that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, just look behind you and me. We'll spend money. Give us what we want, and we'll spend money on it. So
you spend a lot more money on your things.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, you have what every helmet. You have what 8 helmets behind you, and each one is probably what 100.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, so you got
See, now
$1,000
I'm
behind you.
depressed. Now I'm depressed, and I want to leave the show and go sell all my
Well, no,
things.
don't leave. I mean,
No.
you have money, and that's why you can afford brighter lights on your set. And I still kind of look like I'm under the staircase at Private Drive number 4, or whatever the hell Harry Potter lived.
This was $16 lights that you can go get at Home Depot. You can get those. They're just little. They stick up. You should do it.
Well, and he can only afford those lights because he spends all of his money on Hasbro helmets, these Black Series helmets that look great. And don't you think for a minute that he doesn't wear them on his head occasionally?
I wear them all the time.
I don't know why I paused there. I was like, where else is he going to wear these helmets?
Well, I could wear them on my hands, like do like.
Well, I'm glad that's the direction that you went, because that could have been somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
Terrible place.
I had to reel you back in there.
Let's see what else is going on here. Frammy says crossplay was definitely the way to go. I agree with that. You have Andy
100%.
in there saying that the VR might make him a little queasy, but so far so good playing. Apprentice Ewok, yeah, he needs to play. Andy loves flying in the TIE Fighter. Gilster says, yeah, getting motion sickness during playing a video game, that's just 2020 for you. Yeah, that seems right.
That's true. That's very true.
And Nick says that he loves Angel's Envy. So everyone's having a fun conversation in there, and apparently they all really like your Mando pop in the background, Mr. Fletzer.
Oh my gosh, this is Mando pop right there.
You're
funny
such a
story.
jerk. Oh God.
Funny story. No,
okay. No, yeah. What's
this
the story?
is the pop obsession. This is the problem. I got that pop, and then I guess about 3 or 4 days ago, I get a notice from Amazon. Your email is or your package is on the way. And I was like, what package did I order from Amazon? It's an ongoing list, right? And a box comes, and I'm super excited. I opened it up. It's another one of those. So I'll tell you what. How about we do this? Not this week, but tune in next week. There you go. There's that deep tease. I'm learning, buddy. I'm learning.
I'm proud of you.
Tune in next week, and we will have a contest to win one of those pops. I'm going to grab it. Hold on. Let's see here. I'll give one away.
Oh my gosh.
It's my favorite pop I've ever seen. And I have a lot of pops. This is my favorite one ever. It's got the little tiny baby Yoda. It's got the super shiny helmet.
Is that metal? Is that helmet metal?
Nope, it's just fine Beskar plastic, I think. But
Matthew says you're a funkaholic.
I really am. I am. But since I got an extra one, next week we'll figure out a good way to give one away. So, because it's, like I said, seriously, it's my favorite Funko ever. So
I'm happy for you. I just want to acknowledge my producing skills in the moment to give you that appropriate lower third.
Oh, look at that! Like on the fly.
Yeah.
On the fly.
We're getting better.
Next week we'll have lasers and fire and smoke. Maybe.
Well, we try.
Pete's rant. I'm just getting started.
Honestly, what I should do it is Pete's brag session, which is Pete's flex session, because what happens inevitably
Pete's
is
flexor.
Oh my god.
Flexor.
No, I'm not doing that. Nick says great looking pop. Galanorian says Beskar plastic. Frammy's in love. This is the praise you need, Pete. I'm not gonna give you Pete Flexer on this show. Damn it, you co-host this show. That's all you
Flexor.
need.
I want everybody to share this.
Oh my gosh.
Hashtag Pete Flexor. There it is.
How good is that?
See, I should not drink Angel's Envy and do this show because it gets out of hand. This is seeming more and more like a streaming Star Wars show than to be on the Blasters Live. I apologize.
No, what are you talking about? I want to have fun. I want to have laugh. I think if you and I aren't laughing, then anyone watching or listening aren't laughing. Maybe we're the only two that find ourselves funny. But you and I have to laugh at each other's stupid commentary, because if we don't, this is the most boring hour of Star Wars talk you'll ever find. And I don't think that's what we do here.
Most boring hour.
I think we have fun. I mean, you're drinking yourself into oblivion, but it's okay. Yeah. But at least you're doing it on like high end stuff. Like Angel's Envy isn't
right.
That's gonna be like $60. That's $60 on a good day.
Yeah, this is a fine bottle of alcohol.
Have you found the rye? The rye?
That's an expensive bottle.
Oh yeah.
But wow, yeah, yes.
The my wedding gift. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but my wedding gift was a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, which is like real top shelf. That's like behind the counter at Hy-Vee that they don't let you touch unless you're going to purchase.
Okay.
That is some good scotch. It's like $250 a bottle.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
expensive stuff. And I've been told that I'm only allowed to have a shot on my anniversary. And so I told Mandy that we have to get a divorce when the bottle runs out. So it's in her best interest to get another bottle to have
Just
as a
keep
backup.
refilling it every couple of years.
Yeah, because when we're on that last shot.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, is it like one shot per year? Or...
Yeah. So that bottle's going to last a while.
Yeah.
Like I told her, like I if it's death to us part, I hope it's like 55 years. I mean, that would be, that's a good life. That's like 83?
I don't know.
It's 83. I don't know. Everyone wants freaking boozy flexor. Oh my gosh, I can't stand it. This is obnoxious. Hey, it's episode 89 or 91.
I won't be tweeting until at least 10:30 in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah, you need to go to bed. We still have half a show to go still.
All right, we can do it.
No, it's okay. Hey, we're going to take step aside real quick. Mr. Fletcher is going to freaking mute himself so his drunken shenanigans aren't picked up here. But we do have Beyond the Panel, as we always do here, every Thursday night. Marie Wilson over at BeyondTheBlastDoors.com has a great article up right now talking about the latest Star Wars comic, Star Wars #7. And she's actually joining us in like 12 seconds, as soon as I bring her in, so that she and I can have a Star Wars comics conversation. And, when we return, we talk High Republic and 40 short stories of Empire Strikes Back. We got teases of all 40. Pete and I pick our favorites. We have some not-so-favorites. We'll take some questions from the live chat. And we'll get out of here so that Pete can start to cure his hangover that he'll inevitably have in the morning. Welcome in this week to Beyond the Panel with Marie Wilson of BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. We are so excited to once again talk about the latest and greatest in Star Wars comics. And Marie, a really special treat. We know that Charles Soule is my favorite, but he's doing really incredible things with this main Star Wars line. But I am aware that not everyone knows what's happening right now with the title, the Cadillac Star Wars comic book line right now in Marvel's echelon of Star Wars tales. So let's just assume that this is all our first time learning about this main arc. Can you tell us what the heck is going on right now? We're just after the final moments of Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yes. The first issue actually takes place during Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So it segues right into directly after the movie. So right now you have these different divisions of the Rebel fleet that are scattered across the galaxy, and Commander Zara is trying to go after and triangulate positions depending on how they communicate with each other to find these different divisions of the Rebel fleet. So that's like the overarching story of what's going on.
And I'd like to know, there's so many canon connections in this comic book, what I've really enjoyed, but how is that impacting your reading experience? Because I feel like it's twofold, right? You get rewarded for everything that you have consumed, but at the same time, if you're a new reader to the line, are you going to pick up on that reference with Dr. Krennic at the table, or are you going to pick up on this reference to A New Republic? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so for me, it deepens the story, makes it more cohesive, makes it intricately connected, so it feels more real to me. Yes, you do have to have read those things for it to make an impact, or have seen those things for it to make an impact, like the reference to Ekruk, the planet that's at the end of the Poe Dameron comic series and the beginning of the Resistance Reborn book. That is you'd have to have read those two things to have any idea what the importance of Ekruk or Grail City was. So there is that kind of other side of it where it's like, well, if you haven't read them, it doesn't make an impact, but it doesn't really it's not a problem either. It's just an extra little cherry on top for those who have read those things.
I think I'm right there with you. I think that if you're someone that's just wanting to dive into the Star Wars comic book world, we're only 7 issues in, not very hard to get caught back up.
Mm-mm.
Check out your local comic book shop. You should be able to find those in the back issues. But if you aren't aware of all those extra references, like, let's be fair, Marie, you just made 3 references to new canon books that some of us haven't had the chance to read.
Yeah.
Not knowing those connections does not harm your enjoyment in reading this story. I think that's one of the strengths of Charles Soule and the way he approaches Star Wars. He's going to tell you a story. If you're brand new to the world, to this universe, you're gonna enjoy yourself. You're gonna get a very rich story. For someone who does consume a lot more of the Star Wars stories and the book and the comic on screen, Disney Plus, animated, like you and I, Marie, we're able to really celebrate those little Easter eggs that he throws in there, and he is so good at it, especially how I think in this issue where we got to see the Inquisitorius kind of come back, and it just brought me like a lot of joy because I really do have an appreciation for those Force-sensitive Sith. Well, I guess we shouldn't say Sith, but they are, Jedi hunters, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that I thought about this comic, which is, and we don't want to give everything away. Of course, Marie, you did an awesome review for us on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. You can read that right now, where it is spoiler heavy. The one thing, Marie, so soon after the events of Empire Strikes Back, we're just days later, and Leia, Lando, Luke, Chewie, we're back at Cloud City. Basically, Lando wants to sabotage the Tabana gas to drive out the Empire. But was that strange to you? Did that make sense that they would go back so soon to Cloud City? I guess in my head canon, I never thought that was going to be a good strategy.
Yeah. At first, I was really surprised and a little confused. But when you really think about it, the reasons that the 3, Luke, Lando, and Leia, wanted to go back, Luke wanted to he wanted to find his saber. And he was still reeling from discovering that Darth Vader was his father. And then you have Leia, who wants to figure out how to unfrost carbonite. And then you have Lando, who's really worried about Lobot. And he left in a hurry. So he has, things he wants to take care of. So they all 3 have legitimate reasons that actually make a lot of sense for wanting to go back. So it ended up working for me.
I think so. And what I really liked about this was, how we're tracking down the Rebel Alliance. Obviously, I don't want to get all into it, but there is a greater conflict that's going on right now in the Star Wars comics. The Empire is on the tails of the rebellion, and of course, it was really cool to see Luke find that new saber. Is there anything that we should talk about that we haven't with this comic, Marie, or should we just, we'll let everyone find out for themselves, and we'll just take a look at next week's comics? What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. So what is coming out next week that has you really excited?
So Darth Vader number 6, where we see Palpatine punishing Vader for feeling shame and guilt.
I've loved this entire run so far, and I'm really excited to see what this next installment has in store for us. I've got it slated to pick up myself, and so, Marie, I'll just see you back here next week, same time, same place. We'll talk about that.
Awesome. Sounds great.
People want to follow you. Where's the best place to find you?
On Twitter at Alia Morgaine.
Marie Wilson, you are the best. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Sounds great.
Marie Wilson really is the best. Thank you again for joining me again for Beyond the Panel. We do it every Thursday, or at least every week. We go live here on the show to talk about Star Wars comics, to keep you up to date, because maybe you can keep up or maybe you can't keep up. We just want to talk about Star Wars comics. It's what we like to do. And what we also like to do is talk about, over at BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, because right now you can find that review that Marie did. And Pete, people can find a lot more than just Marie's latest review. Oh, Pete? Pete, did I lose you, buddy?
Nope, I did not unmute because,
You know what?
It's
Maybe the Angel's Envy needs to wait until like the half minute, like the
yeah,
half marker,
maybe I
another
should
show.
start. No, it's fair. But when you, I'm glad you mentioned the website, David, because
Oh my
I'm trying to pull us back in here. I am doing my best. I'm doing my best. When you wake up in the morning and you want your Star Wars fix, where's the first place you go? That's right, beyondtheblastdoors.com, because you're going to get the complete experience. You're going to find our latest live shows, our podcast feeds, news, speculation, opinion pieces, comic book reviews, just like what you saw from Marie. And we are working on some other stuff to put on that site. We got some more people coming. And you can also find your Voodoo Squad IDs there as well. If you want to join us, please join us. All written by the BTBD network personalities that you enjoy, and maybe even some of the ones you don't enjoy, but it's all on there. It's all there. Movies, TV, books, comics, toys, cosplay, the Beyond the Blast Doors network. Welcome to our Star Wars conversation.
Who are the personalities we don't enjoy, Pete? Is it Mr. Pete Drunk Flexer?
Is this the right place to talk about that? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but the website just went blank, so I mean, it doesn't even want us to talk about itself anymore.
Wow.
That's how it feels. Hey, you know what? We mentioned it earlier. I want to talk about it, Pete. We have a new Star Wars Funko that released. I'm kind of springing this on you, but this is the 6th and final Battle at Echo Base Funko Pop. This is an exclusive series to Amazon.
Yep.
And tonight we're gonna have a new article up. We will be able to have the pre-order link for you to buy. But I'm really excited about this, Pete, because the detail. I mean, and I think that's what I loved about all these. But you're seeing it here on your screen. The Snowtrooper is like, okay, but the Vader, I'm not always a fan of Vader with like blatantly obvious red lensed eyepieces, but this is pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, you said it a minute ago, and it's true. Every single piece that Amazon has put out in this 40th anniversary collectible set has been absolutely beautiful. And I'm curious. I'm excited and curious to see the Leia, because it probably doesn't photograph as well as it looks, because she's like literally looking at a big screen, right? She's like face on the screen. But this looks so great, and I don't know, and I should know since I'm a Funkoholic, but I don't know if there's been a Snowtrooper Funko Pop. I'm sure there has been, but it looks great. And again, to your point, you know, the Vader Funkos, it's funny. Sometimes they look a little bit silly. I mean, come on, they're Funkos. Of course, they look a little, that's just sort of the general feel. But this Vader Pop looks great. And what looks great about this Snowtrooper is it doesn't have the round eyes. It's got you know, sort of the lens shape that you see on a Stormtrooper, which is really cool.
And I did pull it up just for like my knowledge, Pete, because I didn't know the answer, and I'm looking at it right now. There are 3 types of Snowtrooper, because you have a classic and then an alternate from the original trilogy, and then you do have the Snowtrooper from Force Awakens. From you know the Resistance base, you know, Sky. Oh wait, what was it? Starkiller. Oh,
Starkiller. Yep.
It only came out a few years ago, right?
Whatever.
But I would say compared to those, because the original Funko has like these like big circular dot eyes. Yeah. And this is more this is more like, I don't know if we want to say movie screen accurate, but that's definitely what it is. Is it worth me bringing up the Leia? Do you want me to bring up the Leia? Funko Pop?
It's easy to do, because it's funny. It was the one design, I think, as all of us were trying to guess about because what was really cool was they would put up a silhouette of the incoming figure, and this is one I don't think anybody guessed right. I think a lot of us guessed. Obviously, the Probe Droid was pretty easy, but this one I don't think anybody guessed what this was. And again, I guarantee this is going to look so much better when it shows up on our doorsteps in a couple weeks.
You don't think that looks good though in that payment? We have the image on our screen right now. You don't think that looks good?
Yeah, I think it looks cool, but I mean, it's hard to get the hang of a figure whose face is against a screen. You know what I mean?
You just sound ungrateful.
I am ungrateful. I'm like, come on, why would you do that? But I think it's. And you know what? I love that. One of my favorite Leias of all the Star Wars Leias is the Hoth Leia. that was my Leia crush. A lot of people look. There's nothing wrong with Slave Leia or Jabba Slayer Leia, or any of them. But I just love the snow trooper Leia, or the snow outfit Leia. That was my favorite look for her.
Yeah, she's fun in that.
So I'm excited to get this action figure, but again, or this Pop Funko figure. But it's weird. Again, I mean, its face is against the screen. So,
and I did bring Vader and the Snowtrooper back up because again, like the E-Web blaster, it looks cool.
yeah.
Again, the detail on the Snowtrooper's mask, but I'm really a big fan of the Vader. I like how it looks like an action shot. That cape is, kind of flapping in the wind.
Yep.
And I'm really excited, Pete, because, and we've talked about this before on the show, is that these figures, when you have all 6 of them together, they will form. I believe they connect, and so
I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see. If they're interchangeable, if one only goes into 2, only goes into 3, like I'm very curious, and I hope to be able to display that right here behind me, because I was not a Funko person until this series, until you and Andy kind of like guilted me into getting them, but I've really enjoyed them. I believe we have Chewie coming, then we'll have the probe droid, we have Leia, or no, I think it'll go Leia, then the probe droid.
And Chewie's out, by the way. You should have gotten your
Ooh,
Chewie.
okay, so I do have Chewie. So is it the probe droid that's out next?
Yeah, Probe Droid I think comes out shortly, and then Leia.
Ooh,
and
we
then
need
these
we need
guys.
Andy because I think it might go Andy Probe and then this, but I you know what, I don't know that's why we should have next time we'll have Andy on. We'll have Andy on next time to talk because he and Josh talk collectibles. They do it every Monday night here on Beyond the Blast Doors Network, Holo Chronicles. It's a great show. Enjoy what they have some great conversation. And honestly, Mondays blow. Mondays suck a lot during a pandemic, and they brighten my day. See, I can be nice too. I just don't know what the heck I just picked off my back and flicked in the air, but that was on camera apparently.
Disturbing.
That was not what I needed to do. Pete, while we have a second, let's go ahead and bring up this. This is not where's this thing that I want to pull up? This is here we go. This is what I want because this is the news that came out within the last day, and I want to hit this real quick. Because I want to go into Empire Strikes Back talk and close out the show with that. And then you want to tease an interview coming up on Around the Galaxy in the very near future. So this is what's ahead of us as we go to close out BTB Live episode 91. I'm just going to take a moment. I'm just going to drink. I'm having a lot of fun.
Okay. Is that water? Is that...
Yeah, it's water. David made a mistake with whiskey. I have... I have a guy that I work with that's actually in charge of the area whiskey connoisseurs club. That's not what it's called, but it's like the whiskey club.
Okay.
And so he had a flight of 3 Scotch whiskeys, and it was like one was from the Highlands, one was the Lowlands, and then there's another region. I can't pronounce 2 of them. There's like 5, I think. And these are very potent. Like they're delicious. And they're high end. And I only think I had like a shot of each, but then I had like a 4th whiskey that was probably like, I don't know, somewhere above Elijah Craig, but something below like an Angel's Envy. And my stomach, it was like you know what? It's probably the closest I'll ever get to childbirth, and I got kicked in the stomach. And it's like I drove home, and I think I was going to drive. Like I drove home, it was fine. Got upstairs, I was good. And then when I laid down to bed, just to give Mandy a peck on the cheek and tell her that I'm home safe and sound. Something about when I like rotated my core, I kind of like, corkscrewed my body. Yeah. That's when I started to feel like this upward thrust of momentum that wasn't natural. That could only be fueled by the finest of whiskeys from the Lowlands and the Highlands. And so I'm on a break. That's not what the show's about.
We should invest in a Beyond the Blast Doors network barrel of whiskey. Anthrax does it. Metallica does it. I don't see why we can't.
Is this like a barrel that you and I share with everyone else?
No, it's a barrel, and then it gets branded and labeled with Beyond the Blast Doors. It's sold in small batches to friends, family, and patrons. I think would be a great way to do it. So just a thought. We'll investigate that offline, but that's just a thought.
If it's anything like this show, the flavor will be all over the place. Won't have any focus. It'll be a good time.
People will be like,
you're not quite sure what happened.
This has no focus. It's I think it was intended to be a whiskey, and we don't know where it went.
It tastes like when you get a 50-year-old man and a 28-year-old kid, and they're kind of like just doing a podcast out of the living room. I don't know what quite this tastes like. No, we're just having fun. I would do a Beyond the Blast Doors whiskey with you. Why the hell not? We
Let's
already
do
do
it.
this. We already
Yeah,
suck
why not?
enough of our life away from our families.
Sure.
Hey, so the thing I actually wanted to talk to you about was the fact that we got the crawl from Star Wars High Republic, which the interest of this varies, right? It really does. There's a lot of folks that follow the show that are really passionate about it. There's some people that really don't give a rip, and that's fine because Star Wars can be just the movies to you. It can be the TV shows, or you can dive into the comics and books like I do. You don't read the comics really, but unless I'm like, hey Pete, really read this story, and then 2 weeks later Pete's like, hey, I really like that story, and by the way, the writer's going to be on my show. Well, great, Pete. That's great. I'm glad that I could arrange that for you. Whatever. I do want to read this real quick, Pete, and
Please,
I do want you to. I want your reaction to this because you're not. You and I are both interested in seeing where they go with this, but it's probably going to take us a little while to get really excited about it. Star Wars: The High Republic. The galaxy is at peace, ruled by the glorious Republic and protected by the noble and wise Jedi Knights. As a symbol of all that is good, the Republic is about to launch Starlight Beacon into the far reaches of the Outer Rim. This new space station will serve as a ray of hope for all to see. But just as a magnificent renaissance spreads through the Republic, so does a frightening new adversary. Now the Guardians of Peace and Justice must face a threat to themselves, the galaxy, and the Force itself. When that lands on your ears, Pete Fletzer, is this a story? It sounds like it's been peaceful, and now we're being thrust into crisis. This excites you? Okay.
No, I'm going to be honest. I want to be excited by this because honestly, some of my favorite writers are all involved in it, right? And you see, Kevin Scott is brilliant the way he writes. I don't know. I'm having a tough time getting into High Republic, to be quite honest with you. And I think we've said that before. I'm having a little bit of issue just really, digging into it. And honestly, that crawl, it's nice. It's okay. But I'm just not, I don't know. I hate to be that cranky old guy today, but I've never been able to get super excited about High Republic other than, I'm more interested in is the process. I'm more interested in how they're doing it and pulling it together. And, but you know what, honestly, when I heard about Solo, a Star Wars story, I was like, I'm not that excited about it. I don't need to see that. And then it's one of my favorite films. So, I'm sure it'll surprise me, but honestly, I wish I could be sitting here right now going, yes, I need that right now. Bring it. But instead I'm like, yeah, that'll be good to have in a couple months.
Well, I think what's really cool, Pete, I'm glad that you did mention that because I think it's a very valid stance. I'm kind of curious too. How did they make it happen? Charles Soule did an interview on StarWars.com week before last, really insightful into that process and how they gathered these authors and writers to tell these unique stories. We also have, I believe it's New York Comic Con. There was a panel that is on YouTube right now that you can actually go watch, and they go pretty in depth as far as like the process, the excitement about Phase 1, but also Phase 2 already announced. We know that Kevin Scott is going to write an adult novel. Justina Ireland is writing a young adult novel, and then a junior novel by Daniel Jose Older. Short stories returning to Star Wars Insider as well. We know that Charles Soule is doing this first novel. We're getting another book from Claudia Gray in this first phase. I'm going to read those 2 books, and I'm going to see if they win me over. I probably invest, but for me, Star Wars is always going to be that main Star Wars story is going to be on the big screen. If they tie this into something on screen, I think that's when they're going to really get my dollars. I know that I talked with Marie, and she's going to buy and read everything, which is great because Marie is someone who likes to dive into all nooks and crannies of canon. And I think that she's someone, obviously, who has a great passion for any Star Wars. I think if it's a really good story, I think over time people are going to find it. And especially if Star Wars is not in theaters in 2022, 2023, 2024. You get the idea. If there is kind of a lull, it's a really good opportunity for Star Wars to say, hey, there is still Star Wars happening. Check out these books. And because not just the book, we have talked about it repeatedly, Pete, that the audiobook is a
Mhm.
great way for fans to get into the book realm of Star Wars and not have to sit
Yeah.
there mindlessly and read. You can play that in the car on your way to and from work, on
Yeah.
road trips. And maybe that's how you might even explore some of these
Well,
stories.
I mean, but quite honestly, that is the way I have ingested most of the books that I've taken in from Star Wars, is especially the Disney era, is through the audiobooks. And I'm a big fan of Mark Thompson, but everybody who's read them have been really good, and I think that's the best way for me to take them in. And I think it's because I'm just not a I prefer to. I think it's because I prefer my visual Star Wars, and the audio does such a great job. The audiobooks, we've said it before, you were just alluding to it. They're almost audio plays, and I think that's a great way to bring them to life. Yes, well, it's funny. I was less than excited in my initial response there, and that is not artificial. However, I'm sure I will, because it's where the Star Wars wave will be, and in early next year. And I'm going to get on it, and I'm going to check it out. And I hope when we're talking 6 months from now, I'm like, that stuff blew me away, and it could very well.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, if you find out about it and you read it, the story is great. The worst that can happen is you don't know about it because you don't read it. I think that if you like Star Wars, you will explore it. But I'm excited to see what these authors crank out. Yeah, Phase 2 excites me. Listen, I haven't even been able to get my hands on Phase 1 yet. That drops in January. So let me have that first couple of books. Like I mentioned, Soul's book drops early 2021. We get Claudia Gray's young adult novel as well. I did see this, though. She's not listed in the second phase, and I am hoping it is either... personally, I hope that means she'll be busy either with a Lost Stars sequel, or she'll be doing a sequel to Masters and Apprentice, which is a great book. You see it, down here at my side. I would love to see that explored. A lot of fans on social media, especially, calling for a sequel in that book to explore the Mandalorian Civil War. So there's a couple directions she can go with that, and it'd be great if she was busy with that project. But I've already committed. If Claudia Gray writes a Star Wars story, I'm buying the damn book.
You're there. You're there. Yep.
So let's pivot now and talk about the other big thing that happened in Star Wars this last week, which is it is in the book realm, but it's directly ties into the movie and the way we understand the movies. And this is about Empire Strikes Back. And so I'll go ahead and pull up the graphic here. What we have is 40 short stories tied into the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. So Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view. We have a version of this from about a year and a half ago or so from A New Hope's big anniversary. Yep. And yesterday, I believe it was Wednesday, October 7th, that Del Rey decides to come out on Twitter and they throw up 40 graphics. It's 40 samples of these 40 short stories. And they're background tales of scenes from Empire Strikes Back. And Pete, you and I have had this conversation before. A lot of these stories are really fun, but also there's some parts of Star Wars that are really fun to be headcanon. Like, they don't need to be explained, and you can kind of still fantasize about what they really are. Like, for me, it'll always be, I don't want Yoda's species identified. Right. It's mysterious, and that's great. Maybe that changes now with the child and the Mandalorian. But there are little nuggets here that I think that we're really going to enjoy. And what we've done is Pete selected his 3 favorite from the batch. I've got my 3 favorite from the batch. And I'm going to, for the love of God, I'm going to try and find out where I put those. Because this whole segment really goes down the shitter if I don't have that slideshow.
Yeah, so these are the ones that we're looking forward to. It's funny because even as you were saying, from a certain point of view, for A New Hope was just such a cool book. And what I love about it too is it's all canon. So what it does is it alters the story in its own way. It adds to the story. Yeah, it may diminish some of our headcanon, but I think we're definitely it's a treat to get these kinds
It
of
is.
stories.
And what I
think.
liked about like A New Hope, for example, I thought the most interesting story, and you might disagree with me on this,
Mhm.
but it explained why they didn't fire at the escape pod at the beginning of A New Hope. Like
Yeah.
they explain, and it's comical. Like it's really
Yeah.
good. And so now we're doing that for Empire, and I found the graphics. We got them queued up. So
Good.
Pete, coming up on screen right now, this is your first pick.
Yep.
There were 40, and this was your first one. You want to go ahead and read that?
Yeah, actually, if I can read it,
Do you want me to read it for you? Would you like me to read it? I'll read
I'm
it.
not gonna. I won't read it. But what I will say is, I'm excited to see. It's funny, and I even this is what's beautiful about Twitter and connections you make. I posted, I think it was yesterday morning, that I used to hate the Jackson character, and I hate to say that because my son's name is Jackson, but it's not spelled with two X's like the Green Rabbit character.
It should be.
For those of you who are my age, you probably remember the Star Wars comic book, the original Star Wars comic book from 1978-ish, when the series came out. There was a character in the extended universe at the time named Jackson, which was this green, literally a rabbit type of character, and it's an awful design. I mean, it was like, it did not feel like Star Wars, but Cavan Scott has just committed himself to bringing this character back to life, and his joy and excitement behind it is why I'm excited to read this, and especially because it appears to be this Jackson character making that connection to Han Solo and Lando, and trying to work his way into Cloud City just as the Empire is arriving. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Cloud City when the Empire arrives, but also to hear it from this Green Rabbit character's point of view that's being written with so much love from Cavan Scott.
Yeah, I'm with you. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not worth our time to read them all, but why the hell not? We have the graphic on the screen. Yeah, it's Lobot running into Jackson. I'm sorry, Lobot said, narrowing his light blue eyes. Have we met? That took the wind out of his sails. Have we met? Are you kidding me? The aide shook his head. I assure you that I am not. Unbelievable. And after everything they've been through together over the years, Lobot, it's me, Jackson, from Fake It Till You Make It, from Cavan Scott. I think that is going to be an absolute treat. Absolute treat. And, maybe what we should do is on this next one. Okay, so this next one's mine.
I found my card, so I can read the next one.
Oh, you can? You think you can?
Yes.
All right, so we'll make
I'll
sure.
Try.
I hope to God they sync up, because that could be a holy terror. But yeah, let's go ahead here, and this is mine. This is with Christy Golden. Yeah. It's called The Truest Duty, and it reads: Fear had been beaten out of Veers quite some time ago, and he had no patience for it. It confounded him that others failed to grasp that the secret to promotion, respect, power, and a long life was very clear. Don't fail Vader. Maximilian Veers never had, because who would ever want to fail Lord Vader, and who could live with themselves if they did? I'm a big Veers fan. I think that he's the one guy that, you don't see get into get choked out by Vader. So I am really curious to kind of dive in a little bit more about who Maximilian Veers is. Obviously, he has one of the most badass moments in that whole, in that entire movie. However, does he fail Vader? That's what I want to explore, because technically they don't get Skywalker. That was the goal. So I'm really thrilled about this story, Pete.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one too. I mean, I always thought he was one of those really great, fun characters that he just embodied the Empire. And I think that's one of my favorite things about The Empire Strikes Back is, I said it on Twitter months ago that Empire Strikes Back gave us the Star Wars universe. Star Wars gave us the story, like the entree, but Empire started to expand that universe, whether it was through Yoda or seeing more of the Empire, the first witness of the Emperor. And Veers and Ozzel and Piet were like, you understood what was happening in that Imperial Navy. And I loved it. And Veers was like, he was the badass. Piet was kind of like the bootlicker. Ozzel was the fool, and Veers was the badass general,
Yeah, it's like Boba Fett, right? Doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, but you remember him a lot. But the person in charge of the Empire altogether, Pete, is the Emperor, who is the
Yes.
focal point of this next story.
Yes, this is another one that I'm looking forward to. Mike Chen, who I don't believe has written anything for any Star Wars stories. The story is called Disturbance, and it says sheer will powered Palpatine through as it always did, fending off the determination of someone or something wanting to hide this, a secret held so tightly that the very desire to protect it gave itself away, if only for a blink. Much as the Force spoke to the rebel pilot who destroyed the Death Star, it revealed itself to Palpatine here, not by guiding the launch of torpedoes, but within a vision. What Palpatine saw in the Force should have frightened him. What I'm excited about this story is I hope this sheds some light on the broader Star Wars story, the saga across 9 films of what Palpatine saw and sees in the Force and the connection to the Skywalkers. And, this, I'm assuming this is what leads to the holographic discussion with Vader about there's been a great disturbance in the Force, and to kind of get some insight into what Vader sees, or what Palpatine sees, and how he reads the Force and how it drives everything that he does throughout all 9 films.
I'm right there with you, Pete. And honest to God, I this is probably one that excites me the most.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you picked that one. It brought me a lot of joy. And I like it so much. It's actually my second favorite of the batch too. I feel bad. I feel like we should have had like 3 completely different ones, but this was the one. You and I did pick them separately.
Yeah.
But I think this one is the most exciting to me, because when you think back to Empire, the first time you saw it, and kind of how it's changed over the years with Lucas's edits, like the Emperor is still this hooded figure that he is larger than life. You see this large projection. Vader is bowing. We've never seen Vader bow to anybody up until this point.
Right.
And so there's this mystery exists. And I think that, at the time, like, I don't know about you. I mean, yeah, for you, for sure. You saw the movie in theaters originally.
Mm-hmm.
When we see this movie for the first time, we don't know about Return of the Jedi. We don't know about the prequels, and we don't know how this character has been expanded through Clone Wars and the Rebels series. And so there is a lot of mystique. And so I think that's really important for us to remember when we're reading the story is think back to when you only knew the Emperor as that projection that was in the movie for like 37 seconds, Yeah. I think that's going to be really powerful to it.
And, even if you think about the broader stories, if you do watch them in order, you get a little bit of Emperor Palpatine, and you do, I mean, other than the fight with Yoda and things like that, but you get him, and then you get episode 4 with no Emperor. He's mentioned, but you don't get him. And so this is, to your point, this was either his return to the screen, or it was the first time we ever saw him, depending on how you entered the story. So that's a good point.
I appreciate that, Pete. It's nice that you can take a moment and you can compliment me like that. It goes a long way with morale.
I'm here to keep the morale of the troops up. That's why I'm here.
Are you going to tell us about, this is your third and final short story that you're most excited about?
Story that I was
yeah,
excited
sure.
about. Yeah.
This is Brittany Williams.
Yes, Brittany Williams, again, who on Twitter was so excited that she was making her debut, doing a story called "Faith in an Old Friend," and the excerpt they had was L337 would have shrugged here if it had been the old days, the days before she'd been uploaded to the Falcon and had become one of the 3 droid brains that made up the ship's computer. She'd built herself such good shoulders too. I love this because it's exploring what has become kind of, after Solo, there was a big discussion about how 3PO said, I don't know where your ship learned to speak, but it speaks with a very peculiar dialect. And I'm assuming that this is going to make some connection between the 3PO conversation with L337. And I think we've all been waiting for that. To your point, though, Dave, I will say, as excited as I am about the story, and I really am, because I think, honestly, written by a fresh voice from a woman's perspective to give us L3's story at this point is going to be great. But I think we all kind of have our own headcanon, and so I'm curious as to how it plays into that. But it also, that excerpt alone feels like there's a little bit of humor in it, which is really important for L3.
Yeah, not be a jerk, but yeah, I mean, Did you read it?
Yeah,
You did?
I just did.
Wow.
Was I muted?
No, I just completely
Okay.
lost where I was. I was too, you know what happened was I think you were reading it and I pulled up the double box to give you a really ugly look on camera.
That's good.
So I'm gonna take your word for it. I'm not a big L3 fan. It just wasn't my favorite character. However, I look really forward to reading that story. I'm gonna read this book a lot because Empire is my favorite Star Wars story.
Yes.
And yeah, every time I watch Empire now, and every time I hear C-3PO, and well, the Falcon has a strange way of communicating. Yeah, now I think of L3 because I've watched Solo. So
Yep.
I will enjoy that story, but it's just not one that I'm like truly piqued about. But that's just me. I am excited about.
That's what's great about these. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
Charles Yu. Charles Yu wrote this story. It's called Kendall, and it's about Ozzel. This had to be Lord Vader's way of teaching Ozzel a lesson, and Ozzel was okay with that, appreciative even. This was his wake-up call. Surely any moment now, the grip would loosen, and he'd slip to the floor, bruised and chastened. Except it didn't. I think it's pronounced chastened. But the point is the final moments of Ozzel as he's being choked to death through the Force from Vader. And I guess, the stories that really stood out to me are all in that first half hour, because I think that battle on Hoth was so incredible to me as a young child, and everything felt larger than life. And so a lot of my intrigue, is in that first act of the movie. I'm surprised because you'd think that I would want to know the story, surrounding when Yoda and Luke meet for the first time. They're writing that story, and it's Yoda is actually sensing. He's like, I have not. The excerpt says something to the effect of, I have not felt this for a very long time. Not just a Force user, but a Skywalker. And that's really exciting. And I'm going to read that one. And honest to God, I should have picked that one instead of picking the same one that you did. I've ruined this. But I think what it speaks to is through our picks, and even the one I just mentioned, this spans the entire story. And there's real opportunities there to enhance this story. And maybe, it does erase some headcanon, but I think that this is a really fun book that you might even enjoy reading as you have the movie playing in the background.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Two observations. One, clearly you have some sort of Imperial obsession because all three of your selections were Imperial, which is fine. I get it. That's cool. But secondly, when I read this one, this was the only one that I had a snarky comment on Twitter. I know it's hard to believe only one snarky comment, but my comment was, that seems like the whole story. That's it right there.
Yeah, there's no next thing. That has to be like the last line.
After this, we all know what happened. They dragged him off. So, but to your point, I think that's what's so great about this from a certain point of view. What I loved about the New Hope one, what I'm excited about here is just a little bit of color. It's like, remember the Tales from Mos Eisley and the Tales of the Bounty Hunters and those sort of stories back from the extended universe, the Legends days. This is the same kind of thing. I love this kind of background. I have my headcanon, but if my headcanon is replaced by really good writing, which every one of these writers is here for a reason, I'm all for it. I can't wait for this book. What's the release date? Do you know? I can't remember.
We got November 10th. November 10th is the release date.
Okay.
Did I get that right?
Good.
Oh, yeah. November 10th. We're good.
Yeah.
It says so on this graphic that I had on the screen. Yeah. On sale, November 10th.
I'm not seeing that right now. So
no, that's fine. I just was like reminding myself that I actually did that intentionally because I knew at some point we would want to know when this book became available, and that truthfully is the next book that I'm most excited about, Pete.
Same here.
And it kind of will wrap up 2020, and then I think that's when we take a little time off, and then we get ready for High Republic in 2021.
Yep.
All right. Well,
I can't wait.
I'm stretching my back out. My back got stiff there. And I think that's a sign that we're kind of coming to an end. We've reached our hour here on BTBD Live, episode 91. I want to go into the live chat, but first, Pete, I'm going to put you on screen.
Okay.
Because I want just tell me about you have an upcoming guest on Around the Galaxy that you want to tell the good people about.
It's I'm not going to tell you who it is just yet, but what I do want to share is if you have any interest in Legends, the Legends era of Star Wars stories, you have to check us out on Tuesday. Tuesday, we have a guest who is not only going to talk to us and give us sort of the oral history of how legend stories were written and everything that went into it, but also give their opinion and their perspective on how they reacted and how fans of theirs reacted when Disney made the Legends stories legend, when they decanonized those stories. The point of view you're going to get is going to be you're going to enjoy it, and it was just such a great conversation. We go through sort of, like I said, that oral history of the from the Thrawn days all the way up to the sequels. We talk about the response of this particular author to the sequels and how it feels to be connected to the Star Wars story through the years. It was such a fun, and it's one of those, I have guests on every now and then that I'm kind of starstruck by, just because they meant so much to me in one way or another. And this was one of those guys. It was not Timothy Zahn. I know some people are guessing it's Timothy Zahn.
Whoa, why'd you ruin it? You should let the suspense go. What are you doing?
But
listen, what have I told you about teasing? They're not lies. They're teases.
They're teases.
Just let the people show up.
But it's a really fun interview, and I will encourage you all to do the video version. If you listen on audio and or video, I encourage you to do the video version, because we're overproducing it, and we're putting a lot of effort into the video version of this particular interview. It was so much fun, and I cannot wait to bring it to all of you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I saw the text earlier today about your approach. It's going to be like documentary grade. So Pete's putting a lot of love into this, a labor of love, really, and it's an author that you will know the moment the show starts. And I'm really excited for everyone to go on this journey. Coming up this Tuesday on Around the Galaxy, hosted by Pete Fletzer. And I almost just gave away the author's name. I almost freaking did that. So that would not have been a tease, Pete. That would have been a spoiler, and maybe the end of our friendship.
There's a fine line between tease and spoiler. Yeah.
Well, hey, just want to say thank you so much for another fun week of BTBD Live. We're closing in on 100 episodes, which is awesome. It's crazy. This show has existed in some form for 4 years, and we're about to actually hit 100 episodes. And I get to do it with my buddy, Pete. How cool is that?
What are we going to do for the 100th episode?
Well, what I'm hoping is we can get a cool guest. And what I'm hoping is we can give away a cool item.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Maybe
to do
we can give away a cool guest.
Well, that's illegal in, I think, most states.
I think you're right.
I don't know how it works in Europe. Isn't prostitution legal in Europe?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Is it not
going. I don't know.
Well, what else are you going to do if you give somebody away? I mean, that's...
I don't know.
To make you lunch?
Clean your house?
That's like servitude. That's like indentured servitude. That's not much better.
I don't know that. I think that might be better than prostitution.
It might be.
This is a whole... you know what? I'm going to reel us back in here.
Hey, you know what? Slave Leia. That's what her name was, Slave Leia. There's an action figure that says Slave Leia. Did you see on internet? People are complaining. They're saying that the title in the credits needs to change because Slave Leia is rude. And I'm like, listen, like the Hutts had slaves. Like this isn't for you don't have to correct anything. It's just she was enslaved and then she was freed.
You're not wrong.
We got to stop being so sensitive. Hey, I will say this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Episode 100. Guests, we'll talk all things: movies, comics, toys, cosplay. It's the complete Star Wars conversation that you expect here for BTBD Live and Beyond the Blast Doors Network. That's going to do it for us. I want to remind you, as always, in case that you forgot, you can find us every Thursday. Actually, Pete.
Yeah.
Are we going to move to Wednesdays next week?
I think we're moving to Wednesdays next week.
We're moving to Wednesdays next week. So that's important for you to know. Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We are going to be moving the show to Wednesday nights, okay? Mm-hmm. And we want you to join us for that. So really, because of this, you're going to get the next episode 92, a whole day sooner, which is pretty freaking exciting. Don't you think it's a pretty good deal, Pete?
I'll tell you, I'm very excited to be drinking whiskey on a Wednesday versus a Thursday. That's going to change my entire week.
BTBD Live, episode 91. We're at so much fun. one of the co-hosts has to drink their way through the show. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.